All right. The blue right there on the camera. All right. Hey everyone, JC back with you again at the 2021 National Comeback Conference down here in beautiful Orlando, Florida at the Rosin Plaza. National Comeback Conference is sponsored by both the Coalition of Law Enforcement Retail as well as the Florida Law Enforcement Property Credit Unit. This is a joint conference this year. We've got a lot of great content, a lot of great sessions, as well as a pretty significant vendor booth. And I'm here with Vigilaire and Ross Hay, one of the co-owners of the company. Ross, thanks for coming out.
Oh, thanks for having us.
First time out at Clear?
It sure is.
How do you like it so far?
Oh, fantastic experience. The amount of people here and the retailers and law enforcement bringing everybody together, it's fantastic.
So talk to me about Vigilaire.
Vigilaire is a surveillance training company. We basically train law enforcement and ORC investigators in the art of surveillance.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we know that ORC investigations involve having to follow suspects around and being out in the field. And this is a fairly new concept for ORC, I believe. And bringing the experience that we have to ORC investigators and combining that with law enforcement and giving them the tools to be successful to recover property and to be on the same page is a fantastic opportunity for Vigilaire.
Right, and obviously it's your background, right, as being in law enforcement. This is your bailiwick.
It sure is. I have 28 years with the LAPD. My partner Nancy Amoroso has 27 years as a detective of the LAPD. We have been doing this for a long time, probably the last 20 some odd years before 9/11 actually. We were actually both assigned to undercover narcotics on 9/11, and then right after that, 9/11 happened and we were assigned to anti-terrorist division and have been pretty much doing surveillance and covert operations ever since. So that's our background. We are the sole providers for the LAPD as well, and California Post. We're both certified in California Post for undercover operations and surveillance. And then now we've had Vigilaire up and running for about 5 years. We saw the need for both other agencies outside of California, the federal agencies, as well as now recently ORC investigations, and the need to have this skill set.
Gotcha. So talk to me about your education, the curriculum. How does somebody get interested or get involved in Vigilaire and interact with you all?
So we have our website, www.vigilaireus.com, and then of course being here at Clear, that's the power of a conference like this Clear. We get to meet and network with a bunch of people. We have a vendor booth here, as you know, and getting to talk to people and having people come up to us. But ultimately, the curriculum, what we provide is a standardized training. Ultimately, they come to our training. It's a 3-day session, 9 days, 9 hours a day, and they get to do, we have some PowerPoint presentations and for a few hours, and then half of the class is out there in the field doing field exercises, probably 3 or 4 different 45-minute exercises, debriefing between them so we can gather the information and what we did right, what we did wrong, and correct it for the next time. We also film that training. And so then the next day, we come back, we review that film, see where we made some critical decisions and errors or what we could do better for the next time. We talk more about freeways, counter surveillance, footwork, all those types of things. And then we go back out for that day for the next 4 hours and do field exercises in that regard as well. And we put it all together, both one and day two. We also film that day. The next day, it's the evening. We come back in the evening, we cover the film debrief again from day two. Then we talk about some nighttime operations. We assign the case to some case agents that are randomly chosen in the class. They then brief their team on an ORC type investigation for the evening. They have their suspect information and what they're trying to achieve, and then they go out and they try to achieve that as a team.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the biggest things that we're proud of, is building people, sometimes companies from different areas in the U.S. They come together, and from day one, they don't know each other from Adam, and then by the end of day 3, all 16 or so of them are acting as a team together. Teamwork, trust, communication, all comes with, as well as the skill set that we're teaching them to be safer and to limit the liability of the companies that hire them to do this type of stuff in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you, my experience over the years, I can't tell you how important it is to get that training, both the curriculum, the actual classroom time, but actually, that proficiency training, actually putting what you learn in the classroom to work in the field, and having resources that actually watch over you and see where, hey, listen, you need to tighten up your approach this way or that way, and really addressing and calling out some of the things that, from a liability standpoint, as a former executive for a company, I can tell you that's really important. So, and it's also important, that counter surveillance piece. So talk to me a little bit about that. Talk to me about the counter surveillance training and why that's so important.
Well, obviously, when you're following around these suspects, they know what they're doing. They have a consciousness of guilt. They're looking out for you. So we have to teach them the common things that they run up against on a daily basis. What these suspects are doing, where to park, what to look for, how to act, to make sure to recognize early on what these guys are doing, so you don't make those maneuvers that might make you compromise yourself or your team, and then your safety and whatnot. So we do go over a variety of common techniques that we see that surveillance teams use to try to detect surveillance on them. And we've gone across the country over the last 28 years being on the LAPD, to the federal side, to other law enforcement agencies. We study this. This is a passion. We still do it on the LAPD as well. So that's the difference too. Sometimes is we still do this for a living. When I leave clear after this, and this fantastic experience it has been, next week I go back to work and still continue to do this. So Vigilaire brings the most up-to-date, current counter surveillance and techniques that are used that are accepted worldwide in law enforcement to organized retail crime investigations.
Right. How important has that vendor room been to you today?
Oh, it's been fantastic. Having the mix of law enforcement and the retailers come, and everybody coming by, from former students that have taken the training and them talking to their bosses that how important it was, and that word of mouth has been fantastic for us. But then having the opportunity for everybody else that hasn't had the opportunity to meet with us to come by, interact, see what we have to offer and how we can make them safer and better, and hopefully try to standardize this industry across the board. Because ultimately, that's what we're trying to do. We want to get everybody across the board standardized, to get a minimum level of training, which would be us, and to get them on board. So being on the same page is critical, I think, in this industry. Because sometimes, as you've seen, we have what we call common enemies, right? To certain companies. So if you collaborate with other companies, and now you're working together, you take one investigator from one company and one investigator from another company, you would hope there's a certain level of training, competence, skill level that should be acceptable across the industry. Right now, I don't think that exists. Right now, ORC is in its infancy and building up to those types of things.
Right.
And we hope to be here on the ground floor and trying to get everybody trained up and standardized, and see what we can do, where this would be somewhat mandatory training for every new ORC investigator that's going to launch out into the field. But that room has been fantastic to put everybody together and to have them come by, even collaborating with the other companies still being currently in law enforcement, and seeing what new products are out there, what new services are out there that other vendors are providing, even professionally for me, has been fantastic.
Yeah, it brings a lot of new insight to you, and provides a great opportunity for not only you to promote your own product, but maybe even take some stuff back with you back to the LAPD. So that's awesome. I know that surveillance can make or break a case, and I think it's vitally important. I think it's a great thing that you're providing to both the industry, the public and private sectors, to bring that kind of training, the holistic training together, that both sides of the house can embrace and learn and go back to their day-to-day operations. And, I think that's really important, especially to the private sector, so they're on the same page with law enforcement, and they understand, hey, listen, you can do this and you can do that, but you can't do this. And just learning those techniques and how important those techniques are.
Right. Bringing in a subject matter expert sometimes is the best. People that have done this for a long time and that are subject matter experts in this, and they get to bring the most current techniques used, and so that is important, I think, from a company standpoint. Who are using, who's training, where did they get their training, why are they the experts, and why are we to base policy and procedure around them. Now, coupled with that, I agree, we get the standardized training across the board for all the companies, and then of course each individual company still has risk management issues, policies that they want to address on their own.
Yep.
Right? And so they supplement that, each individual company company does that. But then they also have that standardized training across the board. And it's done in other trades of ORC
Sure.
investigations, whether they be interviews or whatnot. There's certain mandatory training.
Mhm.
We truly believe at Vigilare that it should be this. If your company's going to launch people out in the field and subject
Yeah.
them to the risk management issues that has,
Yeah.
you have to give them a bare minimum amount of training and skill set
Yeah.
to be successful, to be safe, to keep the company from liability and risk management issues. And so that's what Vigilare is here.
Do companies bring those concerns from a liability standpoint to you to address, and can you massage some of that and support those within your curriculum?
Oh, fully. So recently, and I won't name any companies, but we worked with a company. We wanted to take a look at their management issues and risk management issues and their policies that they had already set forth, and they were developing them still. And so we looked at those and we built those into the curriculum because we don't want to go against anything that their company individually does. But with that, we don't have to neglect the fundamentals of surveillance and operating safely and having your people out there. So we can definitely work with individual companies to work within their policies and procedures to make sure that we're all on board. Again, the bottom line is to limit risk management issues and to make everybody as safe as possible, and then to be productive and successful and hopefully recover stolen property and hopefully put the bad guys in jail.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. It sounds like you have a great solution over there at Vigilare. Highly adaptive, which is great to hear. I love to hear the proficiency training. I love to hear that you're doing live interactive training as well, not just in a classroom looking at a PowerPoint presentation. So that's awesome. And you're right. I mean, it's definitely a solution that's needed out there.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us at Clear. It's been wonderful.
Well,
Great experience.
yeah, thanks for coming out. You coming out next year?
Oh, yeah.
2022 right here.
Yes, wouldn't miss it.
Look forward to seeing you. So,
Same here.
all right, this is JC with Ross from Vigilare at the 2021 National Comeback Conference, sponsored by both the Coalition of Law Enforcement and Retail, as well as the Florida Law Enforcement Property Recovery Unit. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back live shortly with more great content and interviews, so stay tuned. Thanks so much.
Thank you.